Okay, good morning everyone. I can see that we have a few people joining already. We're not quite at 11:30. So if you'll just bear with me for a few minutes, we'll wait for others to join. So for those just joining, I'm just waiting 1 or 2 minutes to allow everyone to come in. So just bear with me for just 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, we'll just give it 1 more minute. I can see we're getting some good numbers now, so we'll start in a short time. Okay, I think we'll make a start. It's 30 minutes past. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session, which I've called the Business Services 2024 Roadmap. So the purpose of this session really is to follow up on an earlier session that Jody gave this year on our firm strategy, but to look at it from a business services perspective. And in particular, I'd like to give you an update and a heads up about some of the projects that we've got coming later this year. So in terms of our agenda, so this is what we're going to be looking at. First, we'll just quickly reflect on some of the highlights from 2023. Then I'd like to do a vision and strategy recap, potentially for those that have joined since Jody gave his presentation in January, just go over some of the key points about the new strategic direction. Then the main body of this presentation is about the key projects for this year, and then we'll briefly talk about how everyone can contribute to these projects. And at the end of the session, there'll be time for Q&A. This session is structured as a webinar, which means that you won't be able to take yourself off mute and ask the question live, unfortunately. But you can put your questions into the Q&A box. Please feel free to do so as we go through the presentation. So, turning to some of the highlights from 2023, it was certainly a busy year, and there was a lot going on. We launched the Academy. We had several office moves, so Kuwait, Jeddah, Riyadh, and Morocco. Some big projects there. We merged with BK Law, which is the Omani law firm that we're now working with in Muscat. There was a lot of work done to improve systems, so Elite, Oracle, Intap, Nexel, just to name but a few. We went heavy on artificial intelligence during 2023, and the flagship project in that area was the introduction of Harvey. There was a lot of work done to integrate our data across all of the systems that we work in, and as a result of that, we were able to introduce a number of new dashboards, providing more information about how the firm is operating. We had our reflection weeks, which I think last year were very successful, and there's quite a lot been going on in the CSR and ESG space. We expanded our ISO 14001 certification to 4 offices. It was previously just at the Dubai office, so we expanded to 4. We increased our CSR activities, and at the end of the year, of course, there was COP28 in the UAE, and we were involved in a number of initiatives in relation to that important event. So it was an extremely busy year. I would like to thank all of you for your contribution to these initiatives and other initiatives that perhaps I've missed from this slide, too many to mention. As always, we're looking to improve, to take things to the next level every year, and I think we've done that in 2023, and as you'll see in this presentation, there's more to come, much more to come in 2024. Before I talk about the projects, however, I would like to do a brief recap on the firm's vision and strategy. So this really is a recap of the information that Jody would have given you in January. And I think a key message here is that our ambition to be the leading law firm in MENA is still there. That hasn't changed. But we are looking at things a little bit differently now under Jody's leadership. So you may have heard the term smart growth, which I'll come to in a moment and talk about in a bit more detail. But the way I would look at the new direction is that it's not a new strategy. We're looking at things now through a smart growth lens. The reason that we've shifted things slightly is that we feel that there is room for improvement. We've been doing some amazing things, as I mentioned, and the firm has been growing. But growing for the sake of growth is not what we're looking for. We need to make sure that the firm is growing in a profitable way, and that will benefit us all. And that's really what's behind this smart growth strategy. So just a little bit more detail about smart growth. So some important points on this slide. It is a multifaceted approach, which means that it's not just about finance. It's about laying strong foundations across all areas of the firm. Common sense is at the heart of smart growth. So we will continue to invest in the firm, but we're going to invest in the right areas where we can be more confident that there will be a return on investment. So as I say, it's not just about the numbers. It's very much about embracing innovation, improving processes, and fostering that collaborative culture. I think, in summary, our goal remains to be the leading law firm in MENA. And to do that, we need to be smart about how we grow in terms of our revenue, our client base, how we develop our talent, and how we manage our costs. That, in a nutshell, is how I would define smart growth. And why is it important? Why is this beneficial for us all? Well, you'll have seen this slide, I think, in Jody's presentation. I just wanted to spend a bit more time on this. This is what I would call a virtuous cycle. So if we can maximize profitability, which is our first step, if we maximize profitability, then we can continue to invest in the firm. That means that we will maintain a stable foundation across the whole firm, which then means that we can retain and reward the best talent. So the intention is that some of that profitability will come back to all of us. And then that means that we can invest in our people and ensure that we're providing the best quality service to clients. If we have the best people, it means we can provide the best service. And to do that, we have to have a strong financial foundation. So this is why smart growth is important, and this is why it's a recipe for success. The strategy itself hasn't changed. So you'll be familiar with this framework, which shows our vision, the strategic pillars, our people, our markets, quality and client care, and our culture, and the values which underpin the whole strategy. They also haven't changed, so you'll be familiar with them: collaborative, impactful, consistent, and unique. And how do we know when we have achieved the vision? So I wanted to provide a bit more colour under each of the strategic pillars. How do we know when we get there? So this is really looking at the strategy through that smart growth lens that I talked about. So under our people, we need to be an employer of choice for all of those people that have a long-term commitment to MENA. We want to be the firm of choice for top talent. We want to foster a continuous or a culture of continuous learning. We need to optimize our team structures, and we need to celebrate our achievements, and we've had many of those, and we need to celebrate them. Under our markets, we want to be recognized as the leading firm in every market in which we operate. This is a very, I feel this is a very important and a powerful statement. And I was talking to a peer from another law firm, and I mentioned that this is our ambition. We want to be leading in every market in which we operate. And he said, well, you know, how is that possible? But when you look at our offices, and maybe some of the more recent offices, we have come a long way in a very short period of time. And I would say that in every market that we currently operate, we are recognized as, if not the leader, one of the leading firms. And there's perhaps room for improvement in some markets, but we're definitely there or thereabouts. So we've achieved a lot in a short period of time in some of our new markets, and that tells me that we can ultimately achieve this vision of being the leading firm in every market where we operate. Just continuing on this theme of our markets, and how will we know when we become the leading firm, or how do we know that we are the leading firm? Well, it's important to be visible on the leading legal mandates. So if there are deals going on in our markets that are hitting the headlines, we need to be participating on those deals. If not, then we need to become involved in the future. We want to be shaping legislation in each jurisdiction. We don't want to be just, let's say, a side player in all of this. We want to be front and centre of legislative developments across the region. And we want to be recognised as a good corporate citizen. It's not enough, given our role within the market, it's not enough just to be providing legal services. We are from this market, we are of this market, and we need to participate fully in this market by giving back to the community where possible, and by participating in various community initiatives. Moving on to our culture. We need to be transparent. We value transparency, and we need to make sure that everyone is informed and aligned with what we're doing. Actually, that's one of the reasons why I'm running this presentation today. Good governance is extremely important for sustainability, and smart growth is all about sustainability. And I'll mention a couple of things around governance that we're doing later on in this presentation. Innovation. If you're going to run a sustainable business, you need to be innovative. The people that are not, or the firms or the businesses that are not innovative, will be left behind. So innovation has to be at the core of everything that we're doing. And diversity. We have to ensure that we have diversity across the business. Diverse companies, diverse businesses make better decisions, and that also feeds into sustainability. That's why diversity is important. And then moving on to the fourth pillar, which is quality and client care. Exceptional results. So not just for external clients, but when we're talking about business services, that also goes for our internal clients. Exceptional results, exceptional quality. It has to be consistent. Again, this is not just about external clients. It has to be, it's applicable to us as business services for our internal clients. Responsiveness. this is probably the number one complaint that clients have when they do have complaints. It's about responsiveness. And so this is why we're putting a big emphasis on responsiveness in particular. And again, it applies internally and externally. And we actively seek client feedback. How do we know we're doing a good job? Sometimes you have to go and ask. And there are a couple of things in this presentation, a couple of projects that we're currently working on that help us to get that client feedback. So this is just to paint a bit of a picture about what smart growth, or what is really behind smart growth. What does it mean to be the leading firm when you look at the business through that smart growth lens? So now I'm coming to the main part of this presentation, which is the key projects for 2024. So there's quite a lot of detail coming on the next 4 slides, and that's because there's quite a lot going on. So I'm going to look at each of the core pillars in turn and give you some information about some of the projects that we're doing under each of the core pillars. And this, I would hasten to add, is not everything that we're doing this year, but just some of the highlights. So if we look under the people pillar, I mentioned that last year we introduced the Altimimi Academy. This year we're going to build on that with a phase 2. And part of that will be looking in detail at the learning needs of different groups and tailoring the training and the development opportunities that we provide for each of those groups. So that's an exercise that's ongoing, and you'll see that reflected in the training and development that is coming later this year. Employee well-being. So we're looking at developing the employee well-being offer that we have. I think an example of that is something called the Employee Assistance Program, which is something that we're hoping to implement in the near future. So this is really looking at one of the gaps in our medical insurance coverage, which is around mental health. Mental health, obviously, a hot topic around the world at the moment, and in particular in the legal sector. So we're hoping to address that gap with the Employee Assistance Program when that's introduced later this year. Decentralization of HR. So last year there was a review of our HR function, and one of the opportunities that was identified was for our HR function to get closer to all of the offices. So that's what we mean by HR decentralization. We are introducing what's known as a business partnering model, which means that in effect, every office will have a dedicated HR business partner to support them. That doesn't mean that every office will have an HR professional sitting in their office. It may be that you'll have your dedicated HR person will be sitting in another office, but they will be dedicated to you or to a group of offices. And that's a big investment that the firm is making this year. It's effectively a new team, and you'll see the impact of that as we move through 2024. Talent management. So there are a number of work streams under talent management, but this is really all about ensuring that we attract and develop and retain the top talent available. So it goes back to that goal that I mentioned earlier around ensuring that we are the employer of choice for top talent in the MENA region. We're also going to be doing some more work this year on improving the office environment for our people. So we've got a number of projects coming this year. You'll see those listed here. So we are expanding in each of the following locations: in Dubai, in Central Park Towers, in Jordan. There is work currently ongoing. In Bahrain, we have a plan to extend or expand the office there, and also in Iraq. So we did quite a lot in 2023 in terms of the office environment and making improvements, and there's more coming in 2024. And then finally, just in terms of flexible working mobility, There are a number of projects coming in that space as well. One thing that I'm really excited about is Teams calling. So this is where we'll be using Microsoft Teams as the way to connect via telephone. So instead of having the desk phones in every office, the vision for the future is to remove those and have all of our calls routed through Teams. That system is currently being piloted in one of our offices, and the expectation is that we'll roll that out later in the year. That will make us all a lot more mobile, allow us to work a lot more flexibly, because we won't be tied to our desk phones. So you can see here a number of initiatives planned under the people pillar for 2024. Moving on to markets. So a key project under the markets pillar is focusing on FDI clients. So FDI means foreign direct investment, and this is an area that has been an important source for growth for the firm over a number of years. The work that we do is generally in the region, or it's inbound investment. We don't do a lot of work where our clients are investing outside the region, but we do a lot of work where our clients invest into the region. And there's a slight shift in focus in terms of the markets that we're looking at. We will continue to focus on China, continue to focus on Korea as large investors into the region. There will be more of a focus on India this year. The Indian economy, as you know, or you may know, is booming, and that is creating a lot more investment from India into the Middle East. So we feel that as a firm, we need to focus more on India as a potential source of work. So that's what we'll be doing in 2024. The key client program will continue to be a focus. Actually, I think this is one of the biggest opportunities that the firm has, because we have an amazing client base. If you look at the names of the companies that we work for, it's those household names, whether it's the regional powerhouses or whether it's the multinationals. We have a client list that any law firm would die for. But there's more that we can do with all of those clients in terms of getting a greater share of their work. So that's really what the Key Client Program is all about. And we'll be expanding the Key Client Program this year to ensure that each country has its own kind of mini Key Client Program. Recognizing the fact that every country in which we operate, they have their local blue chips, I guess you'd call them, that we would also like to work for. We're also looking at an initiative that we're calling client segments. So this recognizes the fact that there are certain client groups, so not individual corporate clients, as we're looking at with the Key Client Program, but rather groups of clients that we need to get closer to. And I've listed those out on this slide. It's the international law firms, it's government, it's consultants, and family business. Now, if you think about it, all of those client groups are very important when it comes to giving out work. Even if we're not working always directly for them, take law firms, for example, international law firms have their own client base. Sometimes they can't service the work themselves in our region, so they turn to us. Government, they have many projects that they're handing out on a daily basis in some markets, and we need to be close to our government contacts to make sure that we're aware of the projects that are coming down the line. Consultants, so here we're talking about management consultants that are involved in some of these large projects. We need to be close to them so that we can support them on the legal aspects of the major projects that are going on in the region. Another initiative that we have under the markets pillar is strategic events, and this is becoming, I guess, an increasingly prominent feature of our marketing strategy. There are a number of events now that we have established that have now become a regular part of the events calendar. I think one particularly notable example of that is the Arab Lawyers Forum, ALF, which is an Altimimi initiative, and now it's kind of become more mainstream. There are a number of other events that kind of fall into that category. So AMILIF was our Africa Middle East Legal Investment Forum, which we started this year. We had our inaugural event this year. Although this isn't it's not a Tamimi event, actually it became almost a Tamimi event this year because we were the lead sponsor. This is the Riyadh International Disputes Week, RIDW, which you see on the slide. So we are using events to improve our brand, to become more, to make our brand more prominent, and this is becoming an increasingly successful, more successful strategy for us in some of our markets. Thought leadership is an important part of the markets pillar. We need to be seen, as I mentioned earlier, we need to be seen as shaping legislation, not just advising on legislation. And of course, we've got the law update, which has been running now for so many years, and that's an important part of our marketing strategy. But we are introducing some new things this year. So you may have noticed earlier this year, the Eyes on 2024 publication. So this was, I guess, taking a different view of upcoming legislative developments and really trying to take out a crystal ball and look ahead to see what are the new legislative developments coming down the track and how are they going to affect our clients' businesses. So that was a new publication, and a big thanks in particular to the KM team for helping to deliver that. And then something that I just heard about yesterday, so I added to the slide, is an Arabic language newsletter, which the team in Dubai are keen to launch. So this is almost for those clients that maybe don't find Law Update so accessible because of the English language. We're now going to be issuing a disputes-focused newsletter in Arabic. And then finally, looking at ESG and CSR, and this is all about being that good corporate citizen that I mentioned earlier. We'll be launching the firm's very first ESG report. So this is a report that will be made available publicly, which will list out everything that we're doing in the ESG space. That's been led by our ESG consultant, Hamza, and we're looking to launch that in the coming weeks. I mentioned earlier ISO 14001. This is the international standard that covers environmental impact of businesses. So currently we have 4 offices covered. By the end of 2024, we're looking to have all offices covered. And in addition, we'll be expanding our CSR programs. So we were able to secure additional budget this year, I'm pleased to say. We got about a 15 to 20% increase in our budget, and that will allow us to do more in terms of our CSR programs. So that's some of the things that are coming in 2024 under the markets pillar. Now, turning to the third pillar, quality and client care. So a number of projects, again, that we are working on for this year. We're going to be relaunching the client care charter. So some of you may remember, this was an initiative that we initially launched, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, and it's a very simple document that sets out our commitments to clients in terms of client care. So we've looked at that again, revamped it a little bit, and that is going to be rolled out shortly to the rest of the business. We're also looking at, I suspect many of you will be interested in this, we're also looking at our document management system, and it is very likely that we'll be moving away from iManage during the course of 2024. There is a reason for that. One, personally, I'm a supporter of iManage. I like iManage, but unfortunately, it is difficult for iManage to integrate with our other systems. And you may have noticed that we've been sort of shifting towards more of the Microsoft products, like Teams, for example, rather than Zoom. And similarly with the DMS, we're going to be moving towards a a Microsoft platform. So our new DMS will be on SharePoint. There are a number of different products that are available in terms of document management systems that operate on SharePoint, and we're currently choosing which one of those is the best one. I know that some of you, some of the secretarial team and some of the business services teams have been involved in testing some of those options, and I think we're very close now to making our selection. Obviously, this is going to be a big change for us, changing the DMS. The DMS is kind of core to our business, so you'll be hearing a lot more about this, and obviously there'll be training, and this rollout will be managed very carefully indeed. Just moving to one of our other initiatives under Quality and Client Care, the Client Insights Programme. So this is all about client feedback, and this was a very successful initiative last year. What is interesting about the way that we've been running our Client Insights Programme is that many law firms, the way that they run this is by sending a partner, or maybe not the partner who works directly with a particular client, but another partner to get that feedback. We've done things slightly differently. So we've actually been sending people from our business services teams. So when Barbara was with us, it was Barbara Valentina has been participating in that as well, and others from the BD and compliance teams have been involved. And that's proven to be really successful. Our clients seem to be more willing to open up when they're not talking to a partner, and that has enabled us to get some really valuable feedback and insights from those meetings. During the course of 2023, we ran, I think, a couple of dozen of those meetings. And of course, there's a limit to how many of those meetings that you can have, because it's limited by time and limited by resource. We are going to be expanding, or the intention is to expand the client feedback program this year, so that we can gather more feedback, and that will involve issuing more of or taking more of a survey approach. So we'll continue with the face-to-face meetings, but in addition to that, we're going to supplement that with online feedback forms, which we'll send to a wider group of clients. And we're just working out the details of how that will work. So staying with quality and client care, we're going to be looking at the template system this year. So this is our template studio. Doesn't necessarily mean that in 2024 we're going to be changing to a different system. I think with everything else going on, that might be possibly a step too far, but we will be looking and evaluating alternative options during 2024. These kind of changes are big changes, and it takes time. It may be that we stay with Template Studio. It may be that we move to a different product, but it's something that we're going to be looking at this year. Harvey, I mentioned Harvey earlier, so that was something that we introduced last year. In 2024, we'll be expanding that program and expanding our collaboration with Harvey. At the moment, we have 100 licenses across the firm. We'll be looking to increase the number of licenses during 2024. And there will be some other artificial intelligence projects coming your way during the course of 2024. And finally, document automation. So document automation is also requires a separate system. The system that we use is Contract Express. I have to say, I'm very proud to say that the best users of Contract Express at Tamimi is actually our HR team, because they use it for the production of employment contracts. But I think it's fair to say that our legal departments need to get on board with document automation as well, and that will be a big push during 2024 to make sure that happens. And finally, looking at the culture pillar. So several projects coming down the track this year. Something I'm really excited about actually is the planned upgrade to our intranet. So again, this is where we're going to be moving onto a SharePoint platform. We'll be moving away from the existing intranet, which I'm sure you'll agree is looking a little bit dated. The new intranet is a lot more modern, has a lot more features, allows more interaction amongst colleagues, and it just looks a lot better. I know that some of you are already involved in the testing of that system, and I don't think that this one is too far away, so you'll be seeing this fairly soon. We'll continue with automation and process efficiency in terms of our business services processes, and there are probably too many things to mention under this heading, but just a couple of things. AP, the AP process, so that's our accounts payable process. We are looking at that at the moment, and the finance team are leading on that project. We do recognise that the current processes that we have in terms of giving approvals when we're making payments, also when we're submitting our expenses, that's pretty outdated. I'm sure, speaking to the secretaries on this call, I'm sure that you don't necessarily enjoy filling out those Excel expense forms. There is a better way of doing things, and that's what we're looking at this year. And again, we've kind of made our selection of the product that we want to implement, and that will be coming down. That will be coming your way during 2024. Just maybe one more example of process improvement that is coming quite soon. So the matter maintenance process in Intap is something that was held over for a second phase, if you like. It wasn't introduced when we rolled out Intap across the firm. That is now this sort of matter maintenance project is very close to completion now. This is something that will allow changes to matter setup to be done more efficiently than is currently done today. So I know that there's a lot of offline emailing that goes on to make sure that we're making changes, whether that's update to client names or update to addresses. Secretaries aren't able to do that directly anymore in Intap, and so the matter maintenance project will ensure that that can be done much more efficiently. We're looking at reporting, so we're looking at improving in particular the financial, but also the KPI reporting that we have across the firm. So you'll have seen during 2023, we launched a number of new dashboards. We're going to be continuing with that in 2024, so enhancing some of the existing dashboards and introducing new ones. And in addition to that, the finance team are introducing a new sub-team called FP&A, that stands for Financial Planning and Analysis. And that's really about ensuring that we have a better way of producing our financial plans, financial forecasts, budgets, and the analysis that we undertake in finance to make sure that that is done in a more sort of organised and efficient manner, and that we have more kind of specialist knowledge within that team. So looking at Project Sunshine, which is the next project on the list, so this is all about firm-wide governance. It's about improving transparency, making sure that, particularly when it comes to some of our partnership processes, that they are properly documented and that we follow those processes to the letter. This also has triggered a revamp of some of our committees. So you may be aware now that we have fewer committees. I think Jody mentioned this in his presentation in January. We have fewer sort of standing committees now, and other activities that were previously run by committees are now being run in a slightly different way. The purpose of the committees is to ensure that partners have the opportunity to participate in the management of the firm, and there's been a big revamp of the membership of all of those committees, including the executive committee, which is the main management committee of the firm. Looking at the operational KPIs, I think many of you will be familiar with these. We'll be looking to enhance the reports that we currently have. And there will be a continued focus during 2024 on improving the outcomes that we're achieving under those operational KPIs. I am aware that that some of the reports that you're getting, some of the team leaders are getting, some of the secretaries are getting, they don't always show what you expect to see, and we're currently working through some of those issues to fix them. And then finally, under culture, so Jodie talked in January about creating more of a high-performance culture. And during 2024, we'll be looking at fee earner targets. So this, looking at the legal departments, we'll be looking at fee earner targets and potentially increasing the billable hours targets that we have for our lawyers. A final decision on that hasn't been taken yet, but it is something that we're actively looking at. And as part of that, we'll be looking at the bonus scheme, again, primarily for fee earners at the moment, to make sure that the hardest working lawyers are properly rewarded. Now, this is something that we also need to look at from a business services perspective. I can't say at this point in time that there are fixed plans in place to do so, but it is something that I will need to engage with Marianne on the HR side and the other directors in due course during this year to ensure that what we're doing on the business services side mirrors what we're doing in the legal departments. So what I've tried to do there is summarise some of the key initiatives that we have for 2024 under each of those strategic pillars. So how can we all kind of contribute to this? Well, you know, many of you will be involved in one or potentially more of the projects that I've mentioned during the course of this presentation, but there are other ways that you can contribute. And I've listed some of these ideas on this slide. So really important, I would really recommend that you read your department's business plan. Every business services department has its own business plan. All of the legal departments have a business plan, and in addition, for secretaries who are sitting in legal departments, there is also a secretarial services business plan. I would really recommend that you get a copy of yours and see what's inside. And then when you're setting your goals, if you haven't set them already, then make sure that you link your goals to your department's business plan. In fact, even if you've put your goals into Oracle, have a look at the business plan anyway, and just make sure that the goals that you have link in some way to that business plan. And then, if you haven't had your open talk meeting yet, please take the initiative. You probably should have had one by now because we're already towards the end of March, but if you haven't, take the initiative and put that in your line manager's diary. And make sure when you're setting your goals that they are SMART goals. So they have to be specific, measurable, achievable, and realistic and time limited. So in terms of the projects that I mentioned on the previous slides, if you're not currently involved in one of those projects, then please do feel free to reach out. If there are projects that interest you, there are ways to get involved. And to be honest, the more the merrier. We have a lot that we're looking to achieve in 2024, and as they say, many hands make light work. So the more people that are involved, as far as I'm concerned, the better. A lot of what I've been talking about depends on all of us having a good knowledge of how our systems work. So to the extent that we're offering systems training, when you see those emails that come out every week from the Academy, if there's something, a system that you want to know more about, please sign yourself up for training. And if there's nothing scheduled, you're welcome to email the Academy, or you can message me. If there's training that you feel you need and it's not being offered, then please do let us know. We talked about CSR earlier and about being a good corporate citizen. We do offer 2 volunteering days in the year to everybody that's outside of your annual leave. Please use them. I think not enough of us are using them. When I have volunteered in the past, you know, I often feel that it's probably been the most important and meaningful thing that I've done during the course of my working year. And so I would encourage you, if you can, to get involved in some of those volunteering opportunities. Social media. So we're pretty active as a firm on social media, but please do support your colleagues when you see their social media posts. Please also post yourself about what's going on in your offices. It's good to have our name out there. It's good to support the brand. Social media is a really important way of doing that, and we all have connections, we all have networks. So the more information out there, really, the more people that are hearing about what's going on at Altamimi, the better. Internally, please do submit your articles to Tamimigram. I really personally enjoy reading Tamimigram every month it comes out. Those of you who have submitted articles, you'll know that during the course of the year that there have been a number of occasions where I've reached out to you just to say thank you, because I always find it it's really exciting to hear about some of the things that people are doing outside of work, some of the talents that they have, and something that I really value. So, you know, please do continue to submit your articles into Tamimigram. And finally, please share your comments, share your feedback about anything that's going on in business services. We have an open door policy at Tamimi. If there's something that's not working quite right, please tell us about it, because then by knowing about it that we can fix it. So here are some kind of practical guidelines about how you can contribute to the firm's strategy that we've been talking about today. So I'd like to thank everyone for your attention. Thank you for joining this session. I will open up the floor to Q&A now, and take your questions if there are any in the chat. Just while you're thinking about your questions, I would like to say a final thank you to everybody, both for the fine work that you've done during 2023 and the beginning of this year, and the work that we will all be doing during 2024 to achieve these goals that I've talked about today. It doesn't happen by accident, it doesn't happen by chance. It's that collective effort that comes from all of us that helps us to achieve these goals and these projects. So thank you very much. So I will now turn to Q&A. And so I have a couple of questions here. So one from Nonan. So I'd like to ask if we're removing telephone sets from our desks and how we're going to call clients and government entities. So the plan is to remove the telephones from the desks, and everything will be managed through Teams. So don't worry, we're not going to remove the telephones until everything is working, but effectively you can use Teams as a telephone. So you'll have your headset and you'll make your calls through Teams. But as I say, we're only going to remove those telephones once everything is working. Could we have more information about the Employee Assistance Programme? So yes, absolutely. So this is something that we're looking to introduce. So I'll stop share. Don't think you need to see that slide. So yeah, the Employee Assistance Programme is something that we're looking at really to fill a gap in our current medical insurance provision. Because there's not a lot in there around mental health, which, you know, as I mentioned earlier, it's becoming an increasingly prevalent issue in our lives, and in particular in the legal profession. Actually, if any of you follow the legal press, there have been a number of stories about this recently. So what I would say about the Employee Assistance Programme is that we haven't signed off on this yet. It is currently going through the approval process, but assuming that it is approved, what it offers is a certain number of consultancy hours if you're sort of struggling with mental health issues. There is a certain number of hours that we have under the contract, and that's face-to-face hours, but also sort of online virtual consultancy that we can access. And as I say, currently under our medical insurance program, I think we can access maybe 1 or 2 face-to-face hours under the current policy. So this will be really an expansion of that policy. Hope that answers the question. I don't currently have any other questions in the chat. There is a question that I did want to take the opportunity to address on this call, because it's not a question that appeared just now, but it's a question that I had yesterday when I bumped into someone in the corridor. So the question was, to me, a personal question. It was, is it true, Patrick, that you're leaving the firm this year? And I have to confirm that is true. I will be leaving the firm later in this year. I think I've had a wonderful, I think it's 9.5 years with Altamimi so far, and it's been an amazing experience. I have really enjoyed working with all of you. Value you as colleagues, value the firm as a platform that's given me a lot. But it is time for me to move on to other challenges. So later this year, I will be moving on, and the firm will be bringing in a new Chief Operating Officer. So this is something that I wanted to, I guess, to share with you during the course of this session, just in case I miss out on telling anybody. So if there are no further questions right now, I'm happy to take questions offline. I think you know where I am. You can contact me by email or WhatsApp or Teams, or just give me a call. And I'd be happy to help if you have any queries. So for now, I think I'll just say thank you for joining this session. Really appreciate your time, and hope to see you all very soon. Thank you very much.